गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक ऑफ विनिंग हार्ट्स एंड माइंड्स, द आर्ट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन वॉरफेयर इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स। And to take us through all this with me is General Shokin Chauhan. At the outset, good evening, General Chauhan. Welcome to Gana Shot. After a long time, we are getting together.
Good evening, sir. How are you? I hope everything's fine.
Yeah, it's all fine here.
Thank you for calling me
And
to your show.
oh, it's a pleasure always. It's my pleasure. In fact, I must tell everyone that we are holding this. We've just finished Ops Indoor. Oh, there he's gone. He'll come back. I'm sure he'll come back. Yeah, so he'll come back. Oh, we just finished Ops Indoor, and we've not, what shall I say, uh, not done well too much in this business of info war, right? And yeah, now he's got problems with his camera. We're not done too well on the business of info war. And I think, yeah, there he is back. And what we did lack in Ops Sindor was strategic communication. And that came out very clear. I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. At every stage, I think the Chinese and the Pakistanis outwitted us. It is in this context, General Chauhan wrote two fantastic articles. I mean, they're mind blowing. And any one of you who want to know what information warfare, what is to be done, and how we have to follow up everything, you must read these articles. Both these articles, I put them in the description links, right? And in Frontier Force so that you can all read. And he talks of the second brew, or all that. And I mean, I don't want to say anything because I thought he was fantastic and you must hear from him. So, can all yours.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Thank you for calling me on your show. It's always when we sit together and we talk about things and we discuss so many things. And the issue about winning wars, winning narratives, winning situations is a complexity because part of winning a war is also winning the narrative. And I don't say we've lost it, but all I said is that maybe we could have thought about doing things a little better. So there's a wonderful quote by Christine Fair very recently, who said that Indians who fail to see the victories that Pakistan has actually uh, snatched from the latest skirmish, will fail to understand why India has not and will not deter Pakistan. That's the complexity. While we will defeat Pakistan every time, every situation, in any kind of war, we will defeat them. But will we always also win the narrative in the world? That's something we need to be careful about. We need to understand what the narrative really means. So I'll take, I think, 15, 20 minutes just to describe to you what are the situations under which this happens. So the Pahalgam, where it's a new era of information warfare. The terror attack in Pahalgam was actually a very sophisticated information battle too. Pakistan launched a rapid, coordinated information campaign. They framed this conflict as a Kashmir issue and not a terrorist one. And India's response, we could not take it to the world, was delayed, fragmented, focused on technical military successes. That's the issue. Is that while Pakistan kept talking about Kashmir issue, we didn't tell the world it's actually a terrorist attack. And this is just a retaliation to a terrorist attack. We should have gone to the town. All our embassies all over the world should have started briefing everyone, telling them that, look, we are victims of terrorism. And this is not a Kashmir issue, it is a state-sponsored terrorism. So let me try and analyze Pakistan's strategy and India's communication issues and why these things happen. Now, within hours of the preemptive attack, absolutely within hours of the preemptive attack, the cabinet ministers, Pakistan's cabinet ministers were on BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera. There were 25 plus interviews in 48 hours given to Khwaja Atif, Atatullah Tarar, and, uh, and young Bhutto, Bilawal Bhutto. And their narrative was that Kashmir is the root cause and it's not terrorism. Now, what did it exploit? It exploited the Western media's bias towards territorial disputes. So by May 7th, we hit on May 7th. By May 7th, The Guardian and Reuters used Kashmir-centric framing, not terrorist-centric framing, not jihadi terrorism, but Kashmir-centric. That it's a dispute between India and Pakistan. This is terrorism has got nothing to do with the dispute between India and Pakistan. But yet, Pakistan successfully was able to move this issue from a terrorist attack, which it was a brutal terrorist attack, to a Kashmir issue, which it had nothing to do with, because terrorism has nothing to do with the Kashmir issue. It's a state-sponsored terrorism. So when you don't tell the world and then you later take the story to the world, you're less likely to be believed. Now, what was Pakistan's disinformation blitzkrieg? We all are aware of what all happened. These are not issues that I will sort of repeat here. It was a 5-phase disinformation campaign. Firstly, the ISPR, that is the Inter-Services Public Relations, which is an agency of the 3 services of the Pakistan Armed Forces, tweeted that they had 5 Indian Rafale jets 30 minutes after the attack. Within 30 minutes, they had already started tweeting. They started then creating emotional manipulation, AI-generated images of casualty, images of death, of burning mosques. And where did they release it from? The Turkish and Malaysian media. What was the outcome? This dominated global narrative in the first 24 hours. And what they did was that they were able to push this issue in NATO-style PDF reports for credibility. They had already bought retired Western generals who endorsed the claims of Pakistanis. And where did they endorse this from? The Western think tanks. Institutional reinforcement, they created NATO-style PDF report. That means they had everything ready. And everything was ready and released on day one. And the technical issue that they did was at the grassroots, the amplification. They used 12,000 bot accounts and pushed the hashtag India Lies. It got 2.3 million mentions. 2.3 million. The outcome was that in the first 24 hours, Pakistan dominated the global narrative. Absolutely dominated. And India's voice was not heard. Now, did we have strategic silence? From the date of the Pahalgam attack, it was April 27th to May 7th, there was minimal Indian communication. 75% of Indian embassies in the G20 issued absolutely no statements at all. 75% of our embassies in G20 nations issued no statements. The Ministry of External Affairs had 47 cultural posts vis-a-vis 3 terrorism-related posts. And the consequences was that in the Google trends, Kashmir conflict outpaced Pahalgam terrorism attack, and Pakistan redefined global debate before the Indian response. Now, this is what it means to actually, you know, create a narrative. That when you are leading a narrative, when you are creating a narrative, you flood all social media. The world is now social media centric. This is something we must understand. And if we understand the fact that the world is a social media, then we have to cope and create and deal with the social media. We have now sent parliamentary committees, we've gone all over the world to important nations in the world to explain our story. But we've already lost it because we, in the 60 days after the terrorist attack in Pahalgam, that means from April 22nd to May 7th, the Indian embassies, India did nothing. And that's what I wrote in my article, that what were we doing? Why were we sleeping? And why did we allow Pakistan to dominate the narrative? We were the victims. We had been hit. Yet it was the Pakistanis who called it a Kashmir conflict and not a Pahalgam, not a state-sponsored terrorist attack. Now there's a technology trap here, which you must understand. India's success on the 6th, 7th night, what was India's success? Operation Sindoor on night 6, 7, we destroyed 9 terrorist attacks, camps, 9 pinpoint terrorist camps. We did precision strikes on Lashkar-e-Toiba, on Jaish-e-Mohammed facilities. But yet, next morning at 11:30, when Pakistan by then had already changed the whole situation. But when we were dealing next morning, we focused on what? We didn't focus on the terrorist camps. We didn't focus on Islamic terror. We didn't focus on jihadi terrorism. We focused on technical details. The BrahMos missiles technical details are irrelevant to the world. We ignored human and political dimensions. And as a result, we lost the broader audience. After all, you are trying to get the hearts and mind of the world, of the people of the world, because people make the world. And how did this shift? By Pakistan saying that they downed Rafale jets, what did it mean? They shifted the narrative to Rafale versus Chinese aircraft. And the entire media shifted. Instead of focusing on India's successes, instead of focusing on how we have hit the terrorist camps, on how precision guided weapons had gone and hit terrorist camps and we did not hit civilian casualties, they changed the narrative. And then what did India become? We became an aggressor in the eyes of the world, not in our eyes. We were quite clear that we are victims here. But we became, in the eyes of the world, the aggressor. And that's what was a problem. Let me again go by, use this timeline of delay. India strikes begin at 03:15 in the morning, Indian Standard Time. By 3:45, the Inter-Services Public Relations Agency of Pakistan claims 5 jets have been shot down and Rafales. We did our first briefing at 11:30 and presented no visual image. On May 8th, next day, 1400 hours Indian Standard Time, it took another 24 hours plus for our Press Information Bureau to debunk fake images. 24 hours late. On 9th of May, India released satellite imagery. 48 hours late. The impact of false claims had 7 times the greater media social media reach in the first 24 hours. And in this social media age, the first mover advantage is critical in this age. That's the problem. That when you are when you are trying to deal in the social media, you have to also prepare for the first mover. Unless you pull the eyeballs and unless you continue to hold the eyeballs, you will always have a problem where holding people. A human being is emotional. So your themes have also to be emotional. We should have told the world about how our people suffered, about how our people are victims of this state-sponsored terrorist attack by Pakistan. Our embassies in this time from 22nd to 7th should have gone to town. We should have prepared dossiers, we should have prepared photographs, we should have linked up with all those, the rest of the world that is fighting this war on terror, and told them that here is the actual terrorist factory. But we allowed them to go ahead. And as a result, what happened? People didn't listen to us. Now, the second was that I must tell you that just as Turkey, Azerbaijan, Malaysian TV, Al Jazeera, also the Chinese, let's look at the Chinese support. They amplified Pakistan's narrative via the Global Times, the CGDN and the Global Times. 14 segments of the Chinese television and CGTN and Global Times framed Operation Sindoor as Indian aggression. The hashtag Pakistan under attack trended on WeChat and Weibo. 220 million users. Geopolitical leverage. Pakistan is linked to the Belt and Road Initiative stability. So China played it in that way, that India is the aggressor on the Belt and Road in initiative stability. The outcome gave Pakistan great power and backing, escalating regional stakes. So in a situation where we are dealing with Pakistan, we have to understand also that China, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Malaysia, and a few more, and Al Jazeera will support Pakistan. We also have to find similar allies, similar social media platforms where we are going to deal with all this. That is an issue that we must understand. Now, what was the language they used? They weaponized human rights. Why I call it weaponization is because they used terms like state terrorism, genocide. Why weren't we using these terms? We didn't hit a terrorist attack. It was the Pakistanis who hit us with a terrorist attack. But yet, who called it genocide? The world called it genocide. Pakistanis called it genocide. Termed our attacks, our retaliatory attacks on Pakistan as genocide and state terrorism. And what did they do? They filed a UN Human Rights Council complaint through their many NGOs that they are paying right now. Now, everyone knows that the Indian diaspora in the world is the largest diaspora, the best. It's doing the best. It's the most. It's the biggest diaspora. It's also the richest diaspora. But yet, the Pakistani Canadian groups held rallies in Toronto saying stop Hindu fascism. It wasn't a Hindu attack, it was a retaliatory attack by Pakistan. But yet it was termed in Canada as stop Hindu fascism. What happened at the Harvard University? The Harvard University held a seminar or a webinar on Kashmir, the nuclear flashpoint. And in that, you'll be surprised that they didn't call an Indian voice. There was no Indian voice. There were Pakistani voices. There were paid American voices, but no Indian voice. In Harvard, the most, the number one university in the world, the impact was that With all these voices, it resonated with Western progressive audiences and it legitimized the narrative of Pakistan. These are something we have to understand, that they legitimize the narrative. They change the situation. We are the victims and somebody else gets the thing. But what did Pakistan say? We are the underdogs. The world loves the David versus Goliath framing. So Pakistan is economically struggling nation versus a nuclear armed India, quite ignoring that Pakistan is also a nuclear country and Pakistan's own military and nuclear capabilities are there. Now, what happened about religious messaging? Besides the Islamic countries, the US evangelist leaders tweeted about persecuted Pakistani Christians and how India was hitting them. Pakistan recycled content of 2019 Balakot was reused to show Indian aggression. And the effect was a term, it tapped into the global anti-establishment sentiment. All this Pakistan has done, which we must understand. It has studied the Western world, it has studied the media world, and it has for itself a situation where it is able to deal with these issues in the fastest process. So while India was taking the time to get their story out in the world, Pakistan was already way beyond and running. Now, what are the Western media vulnerabilities? What happened? BBC, Al Jazeera prioritized sensational. What were the headlines? BBC said, Iran clash risks nuclear war. Quite forgetting, it was not a nuclear war. It was a retaliatory attack on Pakistan post a state-sponsored attack on India and the killing of almost 30 Indians. A religious killing. Al Jazeera gave 7 times more airtime to Pakistani officials. Does this declare or does this mean New York Times, one of the most famous newspapers in the world? What did they say? Both sides exchanged fire, ignored the terrorism context. And social media, as I told you, 12,000 plus bots evaded Twitter and Grok detection. Just kept on multiplying the story. What was the result? It amplified Pakistan's disinformation before fact-checking. By the time fact-checking took place and we tried to bring the bots down, the story had already gone. Look, let me give you the real-world consequences. In the European Parliament, 12 European Parliament members called for Kashmir mediation. At the economic level, the Standard and Poor Global, the S&P Global Index, warned of South Asia instability. And what did this do? It impacted Indian markets. Less money into India. Security-wise, China, by saying that the J7s, J10s, and J15s, and all the J series accelerated the J31 sales to Pakistan. And long term, it constrained India's future counterterrorism options. We have told the world that we will react like this if we are hit by a terrorist attack. And the terrorist attack will come again because Pakistan has been regularly hitting India with state-sponsored terrorist attacks. And every time this happens, they change the narrative and we lose the narrative of the world. Now, these are issues that are important for us to understand that why does this really happen? How does this really happen? And why are we not learning from it? It's important for us to understand that learning is an issue that actually happens, that we must change. We must start the process of changing our media narratives also. Each one of our television channels must be credible. People must believe us. What did our media outlets do? We're all aware of that. What kind of defense analysts did they use? What kind of information was available to the world? Now, in the absence of information, in the absence of defense analysts, our media went all over the world and described the complete issue absolutely incorrectly. And what did it mean? That we were not believed. We ourselves don't believe our television anymore. How will the rest of the world take us seriously? That's something that we need to understand. When we ourselves don't understand. So there's obviously a need for institutional integration. There's a need for strategic communication authority. We need to be faster. We need to be proactive. We have to pre-position messaging. 24/5, 24/7 spokespeople should be available all the time. It was our initiative. We were hitting back as a retaliatory attack. We should have been ready with everything and not allow Pakistan to take this. Indian diaspora, 30 million Indian diaspora. We must leverage our diaspora. We must use them for grassroots advocacy. All this information must flow to the rest of the world quickly. We must have these pressure groups all over the world. Immediately as something happens, we must be there to use it. We must use artificial intelligence to cope and destroy the disinformation detection analytics and bring it quickly that this is disinformation, this is disinformation, this photograph is of this. At the same time that Pakistan was putting out this disinformation, we should have been hitting them with the same information saying this is from this place and not ours. All the fake information that was coming out should have been destroyed by teams that I would call fake initiative teams that take out the fake information and immediately destroy it. The core principle is that we should have communicated truthful narratives that resonate globally. For that, we need to understand the global story. How do people react? Why do people react? And tell them the truth. We were the victims, not Pakistan. The Pakistan army wages war with a flag in one hand and a proxy in the other. That's what Pakistan does. And they're ready with this information. That's the problem. We need to transform our ability to send out information. We must have global briefing rooms, 24/7 hubs in Washington, Brussels, the rest of the Western world. We have to counter disinformation before the false narrative takes root. We must have proactive diplomacy, prepackaged media kits with satellite, survivor testimonies, terror financing. When we should have distributed all these issues before we began our operations. And we must leverage our 30 million overseas Indians, what we should call the truth squads, via encrypted apps. And we must transform these WhatsApp groups into grassroots counter disinformation networks. We Indians are very happy. Every morning there are 30, 40, 50 million good morning messages. All these morning messages should have been transformed to say this is false, this is false, this is false, this is false, this is false. And we should have been telling the rest of the world through our diaspora that this is the truth and not what Pakistan's taking out. Our diaspora should have started putting on to that. We don't need falsehood because we are the victims. And yet, it is the falsehood that is won. It is the falsehood that created this false information. Pakistan can never win against India militarily. They will always be defeated. That's the truism. They simply don't have the ability to fight us. They're just a bunch of liars. But they're able to lie so convincingly that the rest of the world world which should not be believing them is believing them.
Yeah.
I, I would say terrorism in South Asia doesn't wear a mask. It wears a Pakistani uniform. Yeah.
No, I agree with you completely. I mean, this is a very important statement you made that terrorism wears a Pakistani uniform. And the pity is that we don't amplify it.
It's a great pity because, we are capable of doing so much better. We are capable of sending out our story, and more than anything else, it is the truth. The the Pahalgam victims were all shot in the head at short distances in front of their wives and children. They were victims of being shot in front of their wives and children. Look at the look at the inhumanity of these perpetrators. And we've not been able to take this to the world. Can you believe 30 people, 26, 28 people shot in front of their wives and children, and yet the world does not believe us? Yet the world does not accept India's right to retaliate. These are important issues which we must understand. And for that we need to change the narrative. We need to be absolutely clear that if we have the initiative, then the story must be ours and not anyone else's.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of points. Two issues come out. No, we have to retaliate. We have to retaliate through the narrative. We have to have our narratives going. So how do you do it? That's the first question. How do you do this? Do you need an organization? How would you like to do all
Look,
this?
what I've said is there are a couple of issues that I've said. We must create in the world now 24 by 7 global briefing rooms. They could be located in Washington, Brussels, Dubai, which are available all the time for real time fact checking. Whatever disinformation there is about India, these global briefing rooms must immediately counter this information, must counter our false information. The second thing is our embassies must exercise what I call proactive diplomacy. We must create pre-packaged media kits. And these pre-packaged media kits must have satellite imagery, must have testimonies, photographs, so many issues, and release it to the world. Give it to the world. Send it out as WhatsApp messages. What is the truth? You send everywhere. And the third issue is use our diaspora power. Leverage our 30 million overseas who should be named as truth squads. And we must WhatsApp groups that exist must counter the disinformation in the world. This is what I really meant, is that we must use all these issues to counter this disinformation. Today we are not using our power. The power that India has, we are not using. And
Yeah,
why I wrote these articles, thank you for mentioning them. I wrote it because I felt that we had a lacuna, we had a problem. And probably one issue that you haven't mentioned about me was that I used to be the Indian Army's additional Director General Public Information, and also one of the first directors of the Army liaison cell will actually was built to cope and destroy this the fake information. And this was done immediately after the Kargil war. Once I finished my command and I came back and I came to Delhi, I was given this job. That the Pakistan have to be told, world has to be told about Pakistan terrorism and how they are state sponsoring, and that story can only be told by the Indians because we are the biggest victims. So these
right.
are issues which I thought I
Yeah.
have covered in that. And
No, no,
in
I go with you
part
completely on that.
in part two, I said we must create these global briefing rooms. We must create proactive diplomacy. We must do this. Why aren't we partnering with Netflix? Why aren't we sponsoring movies like docuseries Pakistan, the home of terror? Why don't we talk about India's pluralism, our Sufi shrines, our Sikh langars, and deal with Pakistan's sectarianism? Let the world know what India is. Why do we feel we don't need to tell them about India? We need to. Ours is an ancient civilization. We're not telling them. Our diplomacy should be sending classical dancers, folk artists to European parliaments. We should create an emotional connect with India's vibrant diversity. We have to shape long term policy perceptions. We are not shaping those. We must shape them.
Right. I go with you 100%, Gen Chauhan, but what do you do within India? Which is that organization we need to create? Should it
We
be
must,
resident in the
we
Information
must
Broadcasting Ministry,
no,
or
no,
should it
no
be with the
question.
defense?
It, it must be an institutional integration, something like a strategic communication authority, which should have the Prime Minister's authority to immediately take over all the media situations and flood the media with information that's correct. We must have an overarching strategic communication authority. That is something that we're not doing. Call it whatever you want. The end point is that this overarching, which will operate in times of crisis, must be given the authority. Person must take over. And if it is a crisis which deals with war, which deals with uh, military matters, then we should have sensible military sensible military officers already briefed and sent to media houses to explain to them what the truth is. In the absence of the truth and information, our media houses were left to speculate. And what they did was they made the story even worse for us because
Yeah,
they told information that was incorrect and then they stopped being believed. The whole idea of propaganda is the creation of credibility, which we have lost in the world. We have to have credible institutions. We have to have credible NGOs. We have to have credible think tanks. Then only will your story be taken seriously.
yeah, that's another thing. Our think tanks didn't do anything. By the time probably the first day was over, we should have had 100, 200 articles going out of our think tanks on what happened so
Articles
far.
don't matter. The net and the social media matters.
No, no, I agree with you. But then neither did, look, we didn't do that or this both.
Yeah, absolutely.
The net and the social media is the first responder. The second
Because all
responder is
those
articles.
photographs, yeah, all those photographs of Pahalgam were available with us. Why didn't we move them out? Why didn't the testimonies of victims move out? Why wasn't the rest of the world briefed?
Yeah. Then the next thing which I thought, with this thing is, look, why should these authorities start functioning only during conflict time or anything? It should be around the clock. If you're going to sell your story round the clock, yeah, I mean, about India to everyone, you have to do it round the clock. And the fact that Pakistan is the state sponsor of terror and the Pakistani army wears the uniform of terror, this is 365 days round the year. You have to keep doing it 24 by 7 by 365. Don't you think
Pakistan's
so? Don't you
playbook,
think?
absolutely, Pakistan's playbook is lie globally, bleed locally, and blame everything on India. This is their playbook. And we have to
So,
expose this playbook to the world.
yeah, I think so. I think we need to have a major redo of what all we've done. I think this whole story has taught us how not to do things, because I think, right. Whatever. Now that whole story is out. I mean, that's behind us. We have to only rectify it. What do we do now about the situation we are in Opsendur? Is there a something else we can do? And how do you go about countering this and nullifying it in the long term?
See, now the
Because this
government,
is like,
yeah, yeah, what I call the second flush is now counter it with the truth. Now create these dossiers. Now send out to our diaspora what actually happened. Not just parliamentary teams. The rest of the country and the rest of the world should get it from us. It is coming out, but it must come out better. The stories that we need to, why can't we go to Netflix and say, create this docu-series of Pakistan, the terror factory. Create a docu-series and make it 20 series. Let it come on Netflix. What all Pakistan?
yeah.
We have enough information. Why aren't we doing that? Go to Discovery and say, this is where the terrorism started. Pakistan's story is known to the world. Just yesterday, I saw on Discovery the issue about Bin Laden.
Oh, he's gone. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure he'll come back. But I think he's making a very, very, very important, yeah, 1 minute. I think he's making a very important issue that we need to even now create what we did or recreate what we did, and put it across to everyone that look, this is the way things happened, and change the narrative. What is imprinted already, you cannot change. Okay. But yeah, let me see if he's come. Yeah, he's back. Yeah. Yeah. Please go ahead.
So now, like I said, you know what I call the second flush. If you sort of seen how
Yeah.
you make tea, the first pick is the first pick of the season, and that's what happened here. But the second flush is a richer and more mature flush. And now the second flush must come from India. The second media offensive must be India's offensive. We have a larger voice in the world. We must tell the world what these guys are doing. And unless we tell the world, no one's going to understand. And for that, as I said, give information to your embassies. It's not late. People's minds can be changed in the social media world. People move on. They moved on to the Russian-Ukraine war yesterday, day before Ukraine hit Russia. That's become a big story. But our terrorist situation is not going to change because Pakistan thinks they can get away with this. That's the main thing, that they always get away with these issues. We have to make sure that they don't get away. And this is the time to nail them. Use our superior economic strength, use our superior diaspora, use our the fact that we are telling the truth must be there. We must tell the truth and we must get it, and we must now create credible institutions. Credible voices, Gen Shankar. Are these credible voices must be on television, explaining to the world what happened. Voices that are believed must be there. Our population can be divided, but that doesn't mean anything. Everyone is together. The complete opposition parties are all together with the Prime Minister against the terrorist attack. They're all together. Because I'm very, very happy to see Shashi Tharoor and so many other opposition voices going along and talking about the terrorism. We must create these credible institutions in the world. Otherwise, no one's going to believe us.
Yeah.
And yes, the world matters. Whether you like it or you don't like it, credibility in the world matters. We are a part of the world. We'll always be a part of the world. And it's important for us to understand that credibility is an important factor.
Yeah.
Let's
I
take some.
think let's take some questions. I think there are a lot of questions, a lot of this thing. At the outset, I'd like to thank Ranganathan to become a YouTube member. Okay, right. Let me see. See, even here, there's a disinformation campaign to start with, everything to do with Jammu and Kashmir. You see, they're tracking us and, they're trying to counter it. And that's what is important that we need to, right. Now, 1 minute. Yeah. General Dushyant has commented JNK is legally part of India. The issue is Pak sponsored, supported terrorism, and in fact, yeah,
This is the issue that we are talking about. That
yeah,
this is the main frame of India's counter narrative. That JNK
yeah,
is our part, and it's
yeah.
Pakistan who has to stop this terrorism, because Pakistan is the state-sponsored terrorism. Pakistan is creating this. I mean, everywhere else you talk of terrorism as terrorists without a land. This is the only country which sponsors terrorism, which has
Yes,
made it state policy. It's the only country in the world, and they will
yeah,
continue to do this. I agree
right.
with Dushan. Absolutely.
Why do we shy away from labeling terrorism across the border as Islamic jihadi terrorism? Israel has no qualms and are unapologetic. Both states have similar existential security issues.
Yeah, I agree with him, with Ashok Ghazula. We have to label this terrorism as Pakistan sponsored terrorism, which is focused on a particular religion. We have to say that. Don't call it Islamic only, call it Pakistan, because it's Pakistan who's sponsoring it.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
always
Next.
focus on who's doing what we are doing. That is the important thing. Don't get lost in these labels. The main issue is Pakistan is the perpetrator of terrorism, and they must be all the time removed.
Right. In the fog of war, while our army win on ground, we stumble in the narrative space. What meaningful role can a motivated Indian citizen play in this information war, especially during fog of war?
There is nothing called fog of war. The moment the truth comes out, that truth would be used by motivated Indian citizens to send it to the rest of the world. You are sending out good morning messages on WhatsApp. Send out information about this. Tell the world what has actually happened. The more information, the more tweeting you do, the more you put it on X, the more that it is Pakistan who's doing it. Our voices are more. We will drown Pakistan with our voices if we say the correct thing.
I think everyone has to respond, as simple as that.
Absolutely.
Right. The next thing is this is an interesting thing, which he says. Even now, I'm getting recommendations on YouTube of Pakistani and Chinese channel where their interlocutors are and Chinese nationals are gloating over Indian defeat, loss of 5 jets. Well,
Now,
that's the problem with.
yeah, yeah, I'd like to tell Ashok Ghazula something. Recently, our chess champion Gurkesh defeated
Carlson.
Magnus Carlsen. Now, just imagine, after he defeated them, what if somebody had said, "But you lost 15 pawns or 10 pawns, and you lost these kind of pieces, and we know you lost, and therefore you lost." But he won. Gurkesh won, and losing pawns is a part of a situation, part of the game itself, part of war. So why is what are 5 jets? Or what, they aren't firstly 5 jets. There may be only just one, if there is at all. But the issue is that they are pawns. The main issue is that you won the game, you won the war, you won the skirmish. Pakistan can never defeat us. Why aren't you telling them that look, you're talking about pawns? In a chess game, you lose pawns. If you lose pawns, it's okay. But why do you ask the chess player that you lost 10, you lost 5 pawns, but though you won the game, why did you lose 5? That shows that you lost the game. Can you believe
No.
these? These are platforms used to fight a war. They will go. They will happen. It doesn't matter. But the truth is that we were able to hit Pakistan in the strategic space. Their air defense was absolutely finished. And by the fourth day, we could have done anything to Pakistan. We didn't do it. So these are absolutely foolish things. All this
Yeah.
equipment, military equipment, is meant to fight and to help you win the war. And the end point is whatever number of jets, and I'm certain they're not five, but whatever number of jets, they don't matter because we won, hit Pakistan in the places we could hit them, and by the fourth day, we could hit them at will anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's the more important thing. Okay. All our IT talent has been bought by US and gagged with your
That is
US
something you
dream.
will have to. I am talking about military issue. That's not
No, I
something.
think, see, in the larger thing, I think we have to motivate people to at least relay our messages. You don't have to,
Absolutely.
right? Okay. Uh, okay. Let me see, because Ashok is talking a lot of sense. This narrative of blaming Indians, the victims, Indian and Israel, has Qatari funding. Even after Hamas attack on Israel, Howard was the epicenter of pro-Hamas support student movement. Well, well, look, the way I look at it, you know where the problem is, you have to attack it.
We will
You have used,
solve that.
yeah, yeah. This, of course, we have already tied up. Wouldn't this have been prevented if we had retaliated in time? Like, why was there a huge pause before retaliation on our side after Pahalgam?
So that's the part of my presentation. But we did not pass this information to the world after Pahalgam. We should have.
Yeah, so yeah. There's two things we didn't do. Either we should have hit them hard immediately so that no one has time to think, or we should have prepared the world and then gone in. Now we are trying, after you have gone in, you've wasted time for 14 days and then you did what you had to do. Now you're telling everyone that this is what
So
the
we,
role.
we conducted a fabulous campaign. The armed forces
Yeah,
did a
yeah,
fabulous job. We prepared ourselves, we took our time, but our narrative should also have followed in the same.
yeah. Yeah, this is something people in this chat are just not listening to General Shokin. I agree. A lot of people think this, everyone, look, this is my view that everyone wants action on YouTube.
Uh,
When people talk sense, they're not listened to.
that's okay.
Okay.
We're not here for
Th-
that.
We are not here for that. That's the thing. There's a clear need for instilling nationalism in our society, starting with younger ones.
I think we have
More than
national.
national.
Democracies by nature are noisy. People have opinions, and democracy means voicing your opinion. That doesn't mean they're not nationalist in their thought processes. But the issue is that we have enemies, and we have to understand these enemies, and we have to make sure that our strengths are used to counter these enemies.
Yeah. Then he says India does not have the structures in place to do any of this. No expertise is utilized.
We
That's
have to
what
create
General.
structures. Yeah, I've
You
been
have to
saying
create structures.
create. Yeah,
Yeah. Right. If you're reading this, press like and subscribe and share this with your folks. This is what the WhatsApp universe needs. Thanks a lot for your thing. I'd
pleasure.
request everyone to, yeah, join. Because we're talking sense. We're talking grassroots issues. Okay. Okay. There's another view. The CDS was lamenting on spending 15% of time to correct the negative narrative. We must now have a dedicated information department to counter fake news.
The
I think
CD
we
is
should go one
absolutely
step
right.
ahead.
He's absolutely
No,
right. We have to
we
correct. Yeah,
I think we have to go one step further. I think we need to spend another 45% of our time to create our own narrative. Forget about negating
truth.
fake
We have
news.
to give the truth because we have to give a credible story.
Yeah, you have in fact, you have the truth. Yeah, right. Um, yeah, this I think is a thing which I want to repeat. Terrorism is doesn't wear a mask, it wears a Pakistan uniform. I think it's a
Yes.
very apt statement. I think we need to carry it, right? And that's very important. Okay. Yeah, in your Yeah, we're talking of Nepal. We'll come back to you, JBJP, on another day
Yeah,
on
we'll
Nepal.
do that. We'll do that. We'll do that. Yeah.
Biggest place of disinformation is on X. Not sure what to do about that. Yeah.
Elon Musk has to be told that this is disinformation, and based on that issues, they remove those posts. So that's the way it is. We have to deal with it. These are social media platforms. They're huge. They change world opinion. We must put the right opinion in the right places and use as much AI as possible to make sure that the truth from India must overcome Pakistan disinformation.
Okay. Why doesn't Indian government ban BBC, CNN, NYT, Washington Post, Al Jazeera, Chinese news portals? What stops the government from acting?
Banning will not stop the world from doing this. You can't ban the world. We live in the part of the world. You have to convince the world. Why don't you say, why doesn't Indian government convince BBC, CNN, NYPT, the NYT, Washington Post, get airtime on Al Jazeera, buy it. You got money, buy it. Buy 4 hours of airtime every week or every day and give out your story. Pakistan news portals, take a Chinese news portals, you can do nothing about. But BBC, CNN, NYT, Washington Post, Al Jazeera, we must buy information there. If that is the name of the game, then we must do that.
Do that, yeah? Why not?
Yeah. If
Okay.
banning, you can't take out.
We did take out a small protest rally with local county
I'm glad
politicians.
you did that. You require much more. But
Like,
we should have given you more information, which is the issue. Is
yeah,
that we should
the
have given you
problem
more.
here is India didn't empower its citizens. India
Yeah,
didn't empower its own media,
we should have given you more
right?
information.
I mean, a
So that
very
you
simple,
were also armed. We need
you
you
know, very,
as soldiers for the Indian narrative. And if you
see,
did
a
that,
very
very good.
simple thing. But we have very simple solutions you can apply. See, on a Republic Day function, there's only one feed which is given to everyone, and everyone then speaks the same language. You can pick
Yeah,
up, cherry pick that. Why can't we do that here? Give,
we must
we
create the way
must,
to do this.
yeah, okay. Your argument is fine. Let us not forget that we have a point 0.5 front within who will go hammer and tong countering our narratives. Your views on that?
I think that's irrelevant. We are all Indians, and we have seen this time that Indians get together when we are, when this kind of situation has happened. And I don't talk of point 0.5 fronts, and that's not right. I just feel that we are all Indians, and unless we take everyone as an Indian, it is no point saying and taking out 20% of our population. It's not right. It's India. It's what we are. It's Bharat. And Bharat consists of different kinds of people. Let us celebrate this rather than, keep blaming it. We have to celebrate our diversity.
Okay. Even now, I feel this delegations who have gone isn't getting much traction in foreign media.
See,
Why we can't we
in,
ramp it up? It is, yeah. Is it because
in
of
the
most of
world,
them are,
in the world, Shankar sir, you have to buy space. You
yeah.
have to spend money. So your delegation goes before that. You should have bought 4 hours of television media there and spread it. You have to buy that space. You can't expect them to give you space. No one's going to do you a favor ever in this world. You have to remember that. And
Okay.
largest country in the world, the US buys space. They buy it. And that's why they win the
Or they
narrative.
own it.
Yeah. Or
Or
they
they
own it.
own it.
Yeah.
If people in 190 countries other than China, Pakistan, and Bangladesh watch our TV news English channels, will they get swayed towards Bharat or not based on presentation style of or TV news now?
The main issue is our story should go to them. We are a credible nation. We are a nation that is the world's largest population. We are the fourth largest economy in the world. We are doing a great amount of good. Our diaspora is heading so many institutions in the world. The World Bank is headed by an Indian diaspora. The largest companies in the world are headed by Indian diaspora. We are we are people who have done so much. Our story has to go. Our civilization is old. Why aren't we understanding that these are great advantages? Pakistan did not exist 76 years ago. They have no history. All the history that is there is ours as a civilization. 5,000 years of history. How can a nation with 5,000 years of history ever lose? But we have to tell the world that this is what we are. And that has to be done through money if required. Don't expect the world to do it themselves.
Yeah. Lieutenant General Chauhan is being optimistic about Netflix and Discovery, sympathetic to Indian issues. I work in that domain. They have Western funding and respective deep states have control over their narratives.
Time we got Indian funding. It's just a matter of funding, right? So you can change the funding. It's money. I've been saying that. It's money. If
No,
Netflix
you
can't
can.
create Netflix, another Netflix for the world. If, if Netflix has been created by the US, why can't we create a similar thing for the world?
Yeah, you can
Why,
create your own Netflix.
why aren't
You can only create all your movies.
we?
I
Yeah.
mean, your movie industry is there. You
Yeah.
start your own thing.
Why are you worried about Netflix? Netflix Prime, we create your own. But get your story to the world. You are the guys who can do it. It's no point saying, "अरे यार वो करते हैं, हम नहीं कर सकते." Then you've already lost that. How does Pakistan succeed? The world is not against us. The world is for us. But you just have to get your story to the world.
Okay, good or bad, there is no escaping from
Very
international
right.
media.
Yes,
We
you're
must, yeah.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You can't
Okay.
escape international media.
Hmm. Yeah. Same on us. We can't have Al Jazeera like TV. We should have an equivalent of Al
I
Jazeera.
agree with you.
Completely
Create
agree
it.
with you.
Why aren't we not creating these channels that beam across the world? If Al Jazeera can do it, so can we. I mentioned it. And why aren't we buying
Yeah.
airtime in Al Jazeera? We should have bought 4 hours every day. We should have bought 10
Yeah.
hours every day.
Yeah. How to teach a liar a lesson? Again, I think so,
Be prepared.
Laksha.
Be prepared.
Be prepared. Yeah. You have to be pre-prepared. Right. Yeah. Do you still not see any political, military, or civil military fusion, even in the light of all the agreement for dedicated IW? I don't see so far. Your view.
It isn't there. We must do it. So therefore, the strategic
Mm.
overarching authority will fuse everybody together. It's like the ISPR has fused it in a stupid country like Pakistan. We must have these situations where, in times of crisis, we all get together and we fuse ourselves, and we use all our resources. If all our resources are used together, you can imagine how big we would be.
Yeah. Last question. Is information narrative really that important? Won't it carry more weight if we wait for others or experts to speak highly about us?
The thing about the world is that there are so many crises happening over the world which changes opinions. Of course, the world is important. We live in a world. When we say we are the fourth largest community, fourth largest economy, it means as compared to the world. And we want the world to know and to take us seriously. So,
Mm.
truth, information, narratives are important. They're important not just for the Indians, but for the rest of the world. We need diplomatic support. We need countries saying that we accept India is a victim of terrorism and we accept India's right to retaliate. It has to be given. The rest of the world should say that to punish Pakistan, we will not give them money. Why isn't it happening? Because we have to get our story. Because Pakistan is borrowing money from the IMF and then using it to buy arms and equipment and hit us. The world has to understand it. Just as the world understood about Bin Laden, he was a Pakistan. He was brought up by Pakistan. He was fed in Pakistan. He lived in Pakistan. He was killed in Pakistan. Why aren't we nailing the lie? Americans hit him in Pakistan. Pakistan army had kept them with us next to the Pakistan Military Academy in Abbottabad. So obviously, the world knows about it, but it has to be told again and again and again that these are a bunch of liars. They are the bunch of people who are doing this. They are the terror factory that are taking Islamic terror to the world. Otherwise, what? The world
Yeah.
has to be told. This war
Okay.
on terror should have been something that India is doing. We should have been waging this war on terror.
Right. The last comment, closing comment, the main issue was even Indians were not sure what really happened until the DGMO briefing late
Exactly.
and incomplete. I agree with you completely.
We should have
I think we should have started the DGMO briefing on day one. And,
no at
then
8
things,
in the morning. We should have had
yeah,
moment we launched and hit Pakistan. We should have had people saying, "This is what's happened. We've done this."
yeah. Okay.
And
Uh, Thanks a lot, General Shokin, for having, come out with such a wonderful talk on information warfare, your views, how Pakistan upstaged us, and how we are late in retaliating, and how we need to look ahead. Because what's happened has happened. You cannot,
yeah, yeah.
but
It's a
we
narrative.
need,
It's a narrative.
it's a
Wars are not
narrative,
won by narratives. People's opinions are won by narratives.
one narratives. Okay,
Pakistan will never be able to defeat us. That should be absolutely clear to the world.
clear to everyone, right?
Which chess player will you ever ask, how many chess pieces did you lose? It's the
Yeah,
ultimate victory that matters. So please stop
matters,
getting into the debate of saying one aeroplane, two aeroplanes. They don't matter. They're just pieces of equipment used to carry out a particular aim in life, which we did. That no one talking about. We hit precise targets. We hit Pakistan in depth, and we continued doing it, and we'd have continued doing it for the next 20 days. It is Pakistan will never win against us. So please don't believe in all this nonsense and don't talk about what happened. Who's interested in how many planes got down? It doesn't matter, yeah. What matters is that India is capable of winning every time.
yeah, and that's what needs to be projected. That's the main thing which we couldn't
Exactly.
project.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Jan Chauhan, and thanks a
Pleasure, sir.
lot for all who have come and watched this. I think you need to spread this talk of us far and wide. I'm sure it'll gain traction by tomorrow. With this, thank you once again. Good evening and Jai Hind to everyone, and Jai Hind to you also, Shokin.
Jai Hind, sir. Jai Hind. Thank you.